Hi everyone. Today we're going to be picking up where we left off the other day, which, we talked about the first four cycles, the first four symbols of Samoin and how they're all connected. And so today we're going to continue on. We mentioned a bit about Iayo, the fifth sign in Samoin, which is also correlated to the fifth cycle. And the we mentioned that the Samoin is the foundation, the inner foundation, compared to the Ah, which was the outer foundation. Well, it's a number of things, but one thing that it does do is it's a sort of a repetition, we might say, of the cosmos. Only now it's on the outer, on the inner realm rather than the outer realm. And so we're going to be building our vertical foundation in the fifth cycle. Now in astrology, the fifth house is often known as the house of children and creativity and so forth, and that's connected with this Iayo, which we mentioned was the elevator, the up and down, the downward forever, upward forever. The fifth cycle of any span that we're looking at, we can expect that there to be some type of endeavor that is innovative or inventive, something creative, brand new. But we also need to keep in mind that when in dealing with cycles, that there are cycles within cycles, and when we're looking at cycles, we have to understand that at any particular point in time, there are many cycles in play, and we have to give due weight to each cycle, and that's where the labor and prophecy can become quite detailed and quite in depth. And so while all these cycles will be in play, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and so forth, still there will be other cycles, and these other cycles will have some impact, and they may be an ascendancy, whereas some other cycles, well, while they'll be there playing a role, they would be basically role players. They wouldn't be the star player, so to speak. Now we find out from Oahspe that there's many things that can influence mortals as well as spirits, and some of those things have to do with unseen cycles. And these cycles that we're talking about now, these are rudimentary cycles. These are foundational cycles. Now it says in Oahspe, the cycles, you have listed the 100-year cycle, 200-year cycle, 66-year cycle, 18-year cycle, 365, cycle of 365, which has to do with the year and all that. And Oahspe says, now these cycles have nothing to do with numbers per se, meaning that they relate to something, to some cyclical thing, event that just recurs. So for example, in the 400-year cycle, well, that's called one time. That's an atmospherian time, and it's for one complete wave, one whole wave of the Great Serpent, which is the solar system. And a half time or a half wave is 200 years, and so forth. And so, while the cycles that we're talking about apply to that, if you count up into these cycles and all that, and you can apply them and all that. The cycles in Oahspe, we have to understand, are essentially for humanity to perceive that which is detrimental to his health in many respects, because they talk about times of falling Oahspe, which is semi-darkness, atmospheric darkness, in the etheric solution, that which affects our spirit, man's spirit, is semi-dark. And if it's falling, it's going to become denser and denser in the darkness. Well, Jaya is another season, which is a season of semi-light. So there's some darkness there, but it's lightening, lightening up if we're rising toward Dan. But if we're falling in the Jaya, well, then it's pressing down. It's moving toward the darkness. These come in cycles as well, but there's also some free play there, according to the Shrivars, those who are guardian angels over essentially the elements in the roadway that the Earth is going to be traveling through and all that. And they can choose whether to give Dan, which is a time of light, ethereal light, atmospheric light, or Jaya or Ajai or even Nebula. The main considerations here is the mortals themselves, rather than the atmospherian spirits, who were of course one-time mortals, but they're in atmosphere around the Earth, the heavens around the Earth, that go in gradations all the way out to the moon. We have some times of falling Ajai or falling Jaya that's moving toward Ajai, which has certain reactions within humanity. And so the decisions of the Shrivars, of the councils up there, of Orions, generally they're of Orion level, but they could be higher. And of course they have apprentices and so forth. But anyway, they make their decision with regard to the mortal themselves, and in particular they want to make sure that the mortal has everything in the elements to work with so that his soul can grow. Plus they also want the mortals to keep perpetuating on the planet, because this is where mortal souls are born, in corporea. And not just this corporeal planet, but other corporeal planets. And but when they're looking at ours specifically, that's what they look for. They look for the grade, and they look at certain densities, and they look at certain opaqueness and depth of our ethy and our where we are in relationship to where we should be and where we could be. And so they make their decisions, and so that falls somewhat outside the realm of cycles. And so what we're saying is that while cycles are important to know, we also have to understand that there are other mitigating influences or different emergent situations which are not necessarily perceived. Now they may be cyclical, but they may not be perceived by mortals or even by the Atmospherians as to what those cycles are, and yet they still might be cyclical. But when they happen at the time, they just seem out of the blue, and so they just happen, so we take things in stride. That is just an aspect of prophesying for peoples and what's going to happen here during Cosmin and so forth.